Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody around here with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never, ever alone. Now, here on Invisible Condition, we get it. Okay, I've had like myself and countless of the hundreds of guests that we've had on the show. We understand when you have an invisible condition, sometimes life can be tough, right? It can be tough. Some days can be nearly impossible. Here's the thing, though: you can always, always, always find hope. There is always hope. And so, if you're struggling with that, let me know. Just email me at jeff@hydrowithhope.com, and I would love to help you with that, because hope is a beautiful thing, and it's an important thing. And so, if you want, you could even drop a comment in the chat and just say hope, and I'll get back to you and we can talk about it because it's important. So, all right, I want to talk to you real quick about our guest today. We're gonna have a pretty cool show today. It's gonna be awesome. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest. Today's guest knows firsthand what it's like, what it means to face a life-altering diagnosis, and then come out the other side completely different with a totally different perspective, right, on connection and purpose and people, and right, a lot of us can relate to that, right? We get that diagnosis and it almost changes our whole worldview sometimes. Karl Pontau is also known as Karl the Bridge, and he's a relationship builder, which I love. I love that because I feel like I'm kind of the same way. He's a relationship builder. He's a podcast host, and he's also someone who has survived 2 brain tumors at 15 years old. He found out about the brain tumors at 15 years old. Crazy. That experience shaped not only how he navigates the world, but how he helps others build meaningful human-to-human connections, both in life and in business, which I think that's the missing link in business now. It's not B2B or B2C, it's H to H, right? It's human to human. So today he's here to share how adversity became his greatest strength and how connection can truly change everything, which I totally understand. We'll talk about the 10-10 rule. 10-10 rule here in a minute, which is my rule for life. We'll get into that in a minute, but let's bring Karl on and see what's going on. Karl, thank you so much for being here, man. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So I love what you're doing, and we're going to dive right into that in a minute. But the first thing I love to do with everybody on the show, at least the last couple of years, I've always enjoyed the answer to this question. So I ask everybody, and there's no wrong answer. On those tough days, on the days that feel impossible, and the days that feel like you're under a rock and you can't get it off you, how do you still maintain hope?
So, for me, it's really been about understanding that you're not alone in your struggle, and there are people out there that are helping, can help you, and are willing to help you and want to help you, and that asking for help when you need it is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, and showing that vulnerability is something that is scary at first because of just how society kind of trains us to build up armor and protect ourselves. I'm a big fan of Brene Brown, if you can't tell me, using all her language already. So I am fortunate to have people in my life, family and friends that I can reach out to and ask for help, and also just being able to get out of my own head and share what I'm feeling and thinking with other people helps a lot, because once you say it out loud and kind of hear yourself say it, then
Yeah.
it really diffuses the weight of those thoughts and feelings a lot, especially when someone else is actually listening to you and shows that they're caring about what you have to say and how you're feeling. That just helps lessen that burn a lot, because now you're not carrying it by yourself.
God, I love that. That's totally true. Yeah, I've found that if you say things out like, and believe me, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. My wife is much better at this than me. But when you run up against an obstacle, run up against what you feel is an impossible situation, say it out loud, scream it at the wall, scream it, yell at God if you have to, whatever you need to do, say it out loud, and then almost inevitably and almost instantly after you do that, you feel better, and then you get into solution mode, right? And then you can kind of figure it out, you know. But if you keep it bottled up, it's just going to fester, and it's just bad. So I love that you said that. That's amazing. So let's go back, man. Let's dive into your story a little bit. Take us back to 15 years old, man. What do you remember most about getting that diagnosis of like
So
brain tumor?
yeah, yeah, it's definitely the whole experience. I mean, started the beginning of 2002. I had been a competitive swimmer growing up, so I very much knew what normal was for my body when it comes to how I'm supposed to feel physically and, and mentally, that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And beginning of that year, just started feeling blah, like something wasn't quite right, but
Yeah,
it wasn't something really acute, like, oh, my shoulder hurts. Again, it was just this general, I just kind of feel off.
yeah,
And so started seeing doctors about it and trying to they ran a bunch of tests and they couldn't really figure out what was wrong with me. And over the course of 8 months, by August, I had lost 50 pounds and had sunken cheeks and eyes. I was really pale and I was not sleeping well. I was drinking a ton of water and having to wake up every couple hours in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and just something was not right. And I started getting really, really bad headaches
yeah.
where I'd have an aura like from a
Oh,
migraine, but the pain would be in the front instead of the back, so it wasn't a migraine. And so my parents got me an appointment for an MRI, and we went. That all of us went in that morning because we had a couple appointments scheduled at the same facility up in Walnut Creek, and did the MRI. And we were waiting around in the cafeteria when my pediatrician called, and he said he's going to drive up from another hospital to come talk with us.
oh,
And so immediately we're all like, "Oh, that's not good."
that's
And
never
we saw
good.
him
Yeah.
walking up with this. We saw him walking up with this big envelope in his hands. You could tell he had been crying. And this is
Oof.
a guy who'd been my doctor my entire life, so he knew me from like infants all the way to then.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he brought us into a little side meeting room. And I remember I was sitting knee to knee with him in this big U-shaped chair with really high armrests, kind of leaning forward towards him.
Hmm.
When he pulled out the results of the MRI and told me, "Karl, you have two brain tumors."
Mm.
And it felt like I got punched in the chest. I actually moved backwards in my chair.
Yeah.
But one of the weirdest things that I felt after that initial shock and just like disbelief was this wave of relief came over me, because I had been sick for 8 months and was really frustrated by like them not being able to figure out what was wrong with me and just and feeling like crap all the time.
Yeah.
And so the having a idea of what the problem was and being able to do something about it was such a relief. So it was
Yeah.
a really weird combination of just like shock and fear and surprise, and but then having this like caramel layer of relief running through it that was like, that seems like a weird combination. And it wasn't until uh, I remember the movie Inside Out by Pixar, where they had like the mixed emotional like
Yep.
sphere of things. Like, oh, that's a great way of showing it, because I know exactly what it that kind of layering of emotions where it's such a weird, hard to describe how that feels, but that movie did it so well.
Right. It was a great movie. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love the way they spelled that out, man. It was because,
yeah,
that was great. That's a good way to describe it, though, too. Yeah, it's true. You got all the different, and they're separate, but sometimes they work together, right? It's,
yeah, and it
yeah.
was, and then so that my pediatrician, after hugging me and kind of the initial shock,
Yeah.
he said, "Okay, so you're not going to the other appointment in Walnut Creek," and he told us that drove up to Sacramento, and following morning I had a 7-hour biopsy surgery, and I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, and then as I was recovering from that, because my one of the tumors had damaged my pituitary gland, And so
Oh,
my hormones were all off, which is why I felt so blah, but it was so
yeah,
nebulous. I couldn't really
that'll do
tell
it.
what was causing it because all sorts of things were off.
Yeah,
And so they're trying to figure out and one of the hormones controls how much water you retain and it controls your sodium and electrolyte levels. That's why I was peeing so much because I wasn't retaining any water.
yeah,
And so they were trying to figure out what that was so that my different, like, all those different levels in my body would be in the norm again.
yeah.
So it took a few weeks, and then
Wow.
towards the end of this day, a doctor came in with the biopsy results, and I remember he walked in the room and said, "You got the good type of cancer," and I was like, "Excuse me?" And now I realize, in the grand scheme of things, it could have been a lot worse. If you had to pick a type of brain tumor to get, you'd probably pick mine because it was very treatable, and it was like 90% chance of it coming back. No, sorry, 90% chance of it beating it, and only 10% chance of it coming back in the first 5 years, and it's been over 20. So
Nice.
after that, like, kind of good diagnosis, there's another
Yeah,
kind of wave of relief where they're kind of spelling out you're going to have 4 rounds of chemo, you're going to have 20 days of radiation, but you're likely going to beat this thing. And
yeah,
so that also isn't kind of a relief because I've since learned there's a lot of brain tumors that's like, you got 6 months if you're lucky, and then there's nothing we can
right.
really do beyond that.
Yeah,
And so there was that kind of resignation of, yeah, this is gonna suck, but I can beat this thing and make it through. I just got to keep moving forward and keep that and stay optimistic and not fall into that victim mode of, oh, woe
yeah,
is me. Just want to keep moving forward. And so I remember even like that night when I first got admitted into the hospital. I was calling a bunch of my friends and stuff because they had known something was wrong, and I was telling them like, "Hey, I got good news and bad news," and the seeing the outpouring of support that started like the
right.
next day, where family flew in, like neighbors who had
Yeah,
lived, like, had grown up with, like, on my like parents' neighbors came visit me in the hospital. Just everyone in the community that stood up and stepped up and were supporting myself and my family. And like, my high school was great. They adjusted my schedule and got me a tutor and allowed me to, because they said, "Do you want to graduate? Do you want to keep going forward, or do you want to take a year off?" And I said, "No, I want to keep moving forward."
yeah,
And so they made it happen where they got like, they made a bunch of adjustments, and they got me this tutor so I could still graduate on time. And they just from day one were super supportive. And there's things that people that I hadn't even really talked to directly or knew very well, hadn't seen in a long time, were
yeah,
stepping up and really supporting myself and my family in ways that you don't really think about needing until you suddenly do. And so
right.
that whole experience really showed me the importance of having a community, having those connections, having those relationships beyond the transactional level,
Hmm.
because it's those personal ones that and when people are willing to help you when your life knocks you to a knee, down on a knee, that it's really make surviving and thriving after a life changing event like that possible. There's no way I could get through it alone.
Right.
And so it was, and even like my friend group during chemo were super helpful, like in treatment. And like, I was there, my dad would track my blood counts to know when I could go to school and stuff like that. But my friends were also, I don't know if they coordinated with him or what, but every so often they just like show up at my front door and say, "Hey, we're going to kidnap you and take you out to do something fun and get you out of the house and get you out of those funks and just do
Nice.
normal teenager stuff."
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of these little things uh, that seem like they're kind of unimpactful or kind of minor interactions that
right.
really were important. And I'm still very close to the friends I had when I was in high school versus people that I met in college or since then, because it's one of those experiences that can really strengthen the relationships that matter or destroy relationships. And I fortunately
Right.
had very strong ones to begin with. And so it
Yeah.
just made them even stronger and really solidified the importance of helping other people when they need it, because when you do that, then you're gonna have those people that want to reciprocate, and it just makes dealing with the curveballs that life throws your way manageable.
Exactly. Well, and I'm sure that as people are watching this, I mean, by the way, if you're watching on any of these places, man, during this episode, like please reach out, please comment, please ask questions. If Carl says something that you resonate with, or that you have a question about, or you're like, hey, I've never heard that before, just throw a comment in Facebook or YouTube, and just ask him a question, or put something in there that you want to talk or whatever, and then we'll get back to you. But also, I'm gonna put a QR code up, or screen wrap up here in a second with his podcast link, his YouTube link to his podcast, and we're gonna talk more about that too. But I just wanted to get that in there, Carl, because I wanted to, because your story is amazing, and I want to make sure that people can interact with us while we're
Yeah.
talking about this. So this is where you can find it. And so, yeah, just knock yourself out, everybody. Comment away. And we're going to talk about this more later, but this is the QR code that'll lead you to his YouTube channel where his podcast is. So maybe talk about that for a second. What is the podcast? What started it? What sparked you to start it? What's going on there?
Yeah. So I launched the Human Connection podcast beginning of last year, and the goal of the show is to help scale up companies that are usually in the startup space, but they're trying to grow and expand, helping them build stronger relationships with clients and stakeholders and employees. Like I said, because it's not a B2B or B2C thing, it's a H to H thing, it's human to human. And
Yep.
so much of the business world has been focused on kind of the systems and efficiency and the tech. For the
Yeah.
last 20 years, they've forgotten how to really build these relationships and how important the human connection is to life and to work and to business to be successful.
Right.
And we're seeing those effects now when it comes to the kind of lack of effectiveness of some of the kind of mass marketing and pitch slapping, and the kind of
I love
the
that
way
word.
people run that doesn't really work anymore, is not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah.
And so the point of this show is I talk with experts in marketing and sales and leadership and employee communications and all sorts of aspects that are able to add some value to the lives and the businesses of the audience, because there's the real way for companies to solve a lot of problems they're dealing with when it comes to client churn or low employee performance, or kind of people that are not like renewing, or like trying to start marketing issues.
Yeah.
All those things really, by focusing on the understanding that the humans involved and the people involved in the processes is really going to be the missing piece for a lot of these puzzles they're struggling with, and that
Totally.
they've focused so much on optimizing and efficiency. They're trying to cut out like the employees and stuff to get to the customers faster, trying to speed up the sales cycle so fast that people can't build trust yet, that it's not working anymore. And so the goal is to help companies build stronger relationships, because and then
Yeah.
what I talk about on the show a lot is it takes, for any business relationship to work, you need two things. You need mutually beneficial transactions, which is like rebar, and you need personal connections, which is like concrete. And if you just have one or the other, you're in trouble, because concrete alone is going to crack and fade over time, and rebar by itself is kind of hard to build on top of. And
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, most companies these days have a bunch of rebar sticking out of the ground and are wondering why no one wants to sit on it with them. And so the point of the show is help people pour some concrete around the rebar so they have more of a better community and more trust in their brands. You see, there's like the report last year that maybe it was earlier this year that like the trust in big businesses is like 17% in round for people, and at least in the U.S. So it's the way to
Yeah.
fix that is by focusing on the human connection, and
Love
the
it.
kind of ulterior motive of the show is if people learn how to build stronger relationships to make their companies successful, they're not just going to turn those off when they go home to their families and their parents and their kids and their spouses and partners. They're going to be better at communicating and listening and empathy and compassion and kindness and all the things that businesses need to be practicing in order to be successful also work in your personal relationships, because it's, again, it's the human to human side of things. And
Yeah.
we're, as much as technology has advanced in the last 20 years, we're still operating on the same OS as we have for the past 100,000 years. Our brains still work the same way. And if you don't understand the people involved, your business is going to struggle, because if you take all the employees out of the equation, you don't have a company anymore.
Right.
All your clients or companies that you're working with are run by people. All your employees are necessary for your business to work. If you can have the fanciest tech stack in the world, but you have no employees, you don't have a business. So
It's true. I love it. Well, yeah. So anybody watching, I mean, I know there's business owners out there. I know there's people that are maybe in their, like they worked their career for the first 20 years and now they're in their second act and they want to start their business. They want to do this. They're starting out, they're getting ready. Or maybe they're 10 years in, they still want to know what's going on. This sounds like a perfect place to come and talk to Karl about that. And it's those, I think there's tons of amazing guests in our audience right now that would probably love to be a part of that. So if anybody's interested, check out the YouTube channel, and then there will also be in the show notes that you're seeing under the episode is where his website is, where you can go connect with him. So
yeah, I'm also
definitely.
very active on LinkedIn. I'm the only Karl Pontau
Oh, there you
on
go.
LinkedIn. So if you find me on LinkedIn, if you type in Karl Pontau, I'm the only one that shows up.
It's the only one. Well, that's good. You know what? Because there's a lot of freaking Jeff Pearsons on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I can't say that. There's a there's a lot of. I try to tell people go find me on LinkedIn, and it's like there's like 1,000 of you on LinkedIn. I don't know. So that's pretty awesome that you're the only one. That's fantastic. That's awesome. That makes it easy. Well, so I love the human to human thing, and I want to talk about that more. But I want to before we do that. Speaking of acknowledging humans, I want to go acknowledge a couple of our sponsors here real quick. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll bring you right back, Karl. Thank you for being here,
Sure.
man. And we'll see you in just a minute. All right, everybody, listen up. I am very excited to tell you about this. Is this it? Nope, that's not it. Oh man, I'm still getting, you know what, everybody? Thanks for your patience. I'm still getting used to this new studio we're in, and I'm still figuring out the button pushing aspect because I'm the host, but I'm also the producer. I do all the button pushing. I don't have somebody behind the scenes doing it for me yet. So maybe someday, but I kind of enjoy it. It's a learning curve right now. So thank you for your patience. So I just wanted to touch base with you about a company that we were introduced to. Gosh, Giselle, one of our guests a couple of months ago, introduced me to it, and it just resonated with me. I kind of stumbled into it, but it makes sense. It's one of the coolest, most simple, natural ways to support your health is what Healthy Home does for you. And Healthy Home's the name of the company, and man, their website is cool. And so if you scan that QR code, you'll go to their website. But if you call that number, a very nice lady will pick up and answer your questions about anything you want to know about the website. And then you can go back and actually know what you're seeing and checking out and have more information. But it is everything that Healthy Home does is there to support your body's natural ability to heal. And so it's a support system for your body's natural way of healing. And so whether you need repair somewhere in your body, or you need to balance hormones, or improve circulation, or you've got joint pain, or you have skin issues, this can help with all of that. It just might do it a little different way than you're not used to. And so it takes a little bit of learning, but I know you can do it. So if you're even a little bit curious about what this is all about, scan the QR code or call the number, and a nice young lady that answers the phone will help you, or you can go check it out at the QR code. And so that's definitely one thing I wanted to talk to you about. The other thing is our nonprofit organization is is thriving right now, and I want it to continue to thrive. And so I want to give you an opportunity um, to help us. Hydro with Hope is here to help families and individuals that are living with a condition called hydrocephalus. And basically, what that means, what hydrocephalus, all I can tell you is that most people with hydrocephalus, me included, sometimes require multiple brain surgeries over their lifetime. And I'm 7 brain surgeries in, starting at 2 weeks old. My last one was in 2021, and it's a big deal every single time. And so we want to support those families. And one of the ways we want to support them is with this journal, this fill in the blank journal, My Hydro Warrior Story. It's a fill in the blank journal. It's about 150 pages. It's got a lot of space in there for you to emotional download and keeping track of what the doctor's telling you while you're in the hospital, right? Because you wish you had something to write something down. Here you go. This is where you write it down. And then when you go to your follow-ups, you're not caught, unprepared when you go to the follow-up, and you've got the answers the doctor is looking for when they inevitably start, blasting you with questions at that appointment. So also, my wife and I love to talk to families that are new to hydrocephalus that maybe just found out their child needs to have surgery or something. So I would love to connect with anybody there. This is a donation link. You can donate monthly on a regular recurring basis, or you can do it one time. Man, we love you no matter what, and we appreciate whatever you can do. If it's monthly, great. If it's one time, great. If it's $5, great. If it's 50 grand, great. Whatever you can do. It helps. Every penny helps. So just wanted to make sure I let you know about that. It's one of our main, it's kind of the nonprofit arm of our show. So I wanted to make sure that we got some attention. And so let's bring Karl back up here. All right, man, let's hit the ground running, keep going with this. Man, this is really cool. We were just talking about your podcast, which I know there's business owners out there that could find some benefit there. Just out of curiosity, how did you as a as somebody who has also had a crazy serious condition foisted upon me as a kid? I was a little younger than you when I found out, but teenager, whatever, is still nice, really young. How did you deal with that? Like, what went through your mind? Like, I know it was a relief to find out the diagnosis, but that still messes with your brain. Like, how did you
Yeah,
deal with that
literally.
as a kid?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the first things that I got very a lot more cautious than most teenage boys, so that kind of got rid of that teenage invincibility complex that most young boys have, where they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna ride my bike off this cliff with like no helmet on because no, that's gonna hurt me." So I and I it was really about just the determination to get through it and not let it beat me,
Yeah.
and how to I mean the how it impacted me as a teenager. It was just it put a lot of things in perspective. Where you hear people complain like, "Oh, they got my coffee wrong at Starbucks," and it's like if that's what you think is worth complaining about, you have no idea how lucky you are
Right.
and how fortunate you are to have that to complain about. And you think it's worth complaining to someone else.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it really put a lot of things in perspective, and it showed me just how lucky I was before that I really and I didn't have that context of just kind of my privileged upbringing, and it also really helped me appreciate the the family I had, and also just kind of how lucky I was in general, because there were a lot of things that um, when I was in middle school, I had a friend who was kind of up and disappeared one day, and we never really see him again. And I
Ooh.
saw him later that he had also had a brain tumor when he was in middle school, but it had like spread to his spine, and so he was in a wheelchair, and he was like
Oh,
in a lot worse experience. So it and that was something that they were like. I had a spinal tap done
oh,
you want to make sure that it hadn't spread that way, and so there's so much of the um, appreciation for the opportunities I had
Yeah.
before and after that, and just how much work it takes to achieve something, and how much of a group effort it is, and how important it is to help other people. Whereas just wasn't really that cued into it before. I didn't really like group projects. Like as a growing up, as more also like much more introverted person, and so um, so when I started my business and kind of my approach to wanting to connect with people more through that was about understanding more than just the so what do you do side of things, really about like understanding their stories and who they were and what drove them, because
Yeah.
it's having that clear understanding of why I do what I do and the impact I want to have makes it easier for me to connect with people, or to focus my efforts on what is actually going to help me move that needle and find things that are in alignment with who I am and what I care about. Because I think,
Yeah.
and from doing the podcast, I've talked to a lot of people about guests on the show about how disconnected people are with not just those around them, but with themselves. They don't really have that sense of purpose or direction. And
Yeah.
I think it comes also down to a lot of the education system, at least in the U.S., is like you pick your major when you're a junior, you graduate from college when you're 21, 22, and your brain stops developing when you're 25. So you're a
Something
completely
like
different
that.
person,
Yeah.
and so it's if you don't really know and stop about and think about who you are and what you care about, then you're likely in a career path you don't really enjoy.
Yeah.
And actually, that still kind of happened to me where I wanted to go to school for animation. And I learned animation. I ran a business doing animation for a while, and it didn't work out. And I actually realized from doing the business side of things that the parts I enjoyed the most were the storytelling and the connecting of people and a lot of like the networking.
Yeah.
And so
Awesome.
I switched, and now I'm doing that as like as more of a business. I think is the referral networking and connecting people and
Yeah.
being part of affiliate programs and stuff like that, and want to be launching a kind of a retainer referral service soon. But
Cool.
it's that it's that the path you're on. One of the things I learned from this whole program, like the experience, was that being able to roll with the punches and pivot when you need to, and that things are not going to go to plan, and you have to just take the hits and keep moving and make adjustments
Yep.
is and adapt to the change, and not and be willing to change when you have to, and not getting stuck to the old, like your old way of doing things,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
one of the biggest lessons I got from the whole experience. Because um, I was before that I would kind of had a standard, what I considered a fairly normal, uneventful upbringing. Like I had never broken any major bones. I'd never been like stung by a bee. I'm pretty sure I've never been bitten by a mosquito. Like growing up, like never had the flu. Like I was super healthy and
Man.
gonna help like normal. Like no real issues
Yeah.
growing up until brain tumor diagnosis, and so I hadn't really had to adapt or deal with a lot of adversity before until I suddenly did, and so it really taught me the
Right.
importance of that mindset of moving forward and adapting and changing when you need to, and being open to it. And so I think that's something that these days, with how quickly things change and how much change is going on, has been really valuable. But and it's something that
Yeah.
I learned going through that whole experience, because not only was the initial change a drastic one, but then also over the treatment and the process and stuff, there were a lot of little tweaks and things that we had to adapt to. Like we just get a call once sometime like during chemo, like, hey, you got to come in and get like a platelet transfusion because your platelets are low, and so come in now. And like, okay, we're just going to drop all our plans and go get platelets so I don't like have a bloody nose and bleed out. So it's just like things where you just gotta
Yeah.
you gotta be able to adapt to it. And so and again, that's what it helps when it helps to have that community around you, because
Totally.
coordinate with other people, so someone else would handle this, or someone would drop off dinner, and like we were
Yeah.
able to roll with the punches because we had the people around us to support us. And it was but that whole mindset shift of not thinking that your way forward is going to be this straight, easy,
Right.
simple path, and
Well,
that was a big takeaway that I'm kind of glad I have that mindset now.
yeah. Well, I agree. I totally agree. You talked about networking before, and I, I absolutely love networking. It's one of my favorite things to do. I mean, this is one of my favorite things to do. And networking is a huge part of this, is huge part of, I mean, I don't, that's where I find so many of my amazing
Yep.
guests is networking, right? And advertisers and sponsors and people to talk to about the show and all, so what do you what was my question? What if you like you're into powerful introductions as well, right? Like you're like what makes
Yeah.
a connection, what makes that connection, that networking connection valuable to you, like versus just plain old run of the mill networking? Because there's a difference between
Yeah.
productive networking and just going to networking meetings and collecting contacts, right? There's
Yeah.
got to be
So
something.
I mean, I was very fortunate to work with an amazing networking coach named Miley Colmer, and so a lot of what I'm about to say I learned from her.
Nice.
But I think the way most people go about networking they're going about it backwards. So I think about what do I need to get? I'm going to go out and try and get something, and really it's about going out there thinking, who can I connect? Who can I help? How can I add as much value to the people in the room?
Yeah.
And that mindset shift is basically the foundation to building good relationships through networking. And it's also helps me because when I'm trying to helping understand like what's a good relationship for someone else in my network, who are they looking to meet, and
Yeah.
how they're going to add value by making that connection is important, because then when I actually do make the introduction, they're much more likely to have a positive impact and want more connections and keep coming back. And so it's not about what I'm trying to get or who I'm trying to sell to. It's about how can I add as much value to the people in the room, and who am I trying to connect when I'm out networking with other people?
Yeah.
I mean, because those, when you add to those relationships, you'll get the reciprocity and those and returns from that and down the line in way more ways than you can possibly expect
Yeah.
if you compared to going out and actually one thing I learned from Miley is that the another key thing is that introverts are better networkers because they go into deeper conversations than
Yep.
people that try and talk to everyone in the
Sometimes.
room and just kind of
Yeah.
skim the surface.
Yeah.
Because unless you really understand who the person is you're in front of as a person, not just a job title or a category or an
Yeah.
industry label, you're not going to be able to connect with them on a deep enough level to build the trust that leads to the connections and the deals and
Exactly.
and so having that understanding of how to ask questions and listen and to and the mindset of okay, I'm listening for cues of who I can connect this person to that's going to be
Yeah.
valuable. That is the best way to network, because even if you go out there and trying to sell people or trying to get something from people, you're going to end up burning a bunch of bridges, and you're not going to get access to the 150 plus people that the person you're talking to knows in
Right.
their network if you just try and pitch them something, because you're not gonna build that trust if you're just trying to sell to everyone all the time.
Exactly.
And so yeah, so
Nice.
I use my podcast as a great way to connect with people, and I actually little behind the scenes glimpse here. My episode's only about 20 minutes long. It's an hour long recording session. The first 10 minutes is icebreaker, getting things set up. We record for 20 minutes, but the last half an hour is just a chance for me to connect the guest with people in my network, see who I can
Love that.
connect with that can be valuable for them. But it starts with me asking a lot of questions about what they're looking for help with or what they're trying to accomplish or who a good connection is for them. It's not
Yeah.
me coming with I want to pitch someone's services for you. It's more about what do you need help with, and let me make that connection. Actually, and then that's where you mentioned like the Carl the bridge thing in the intro.
Yeah.
I learned last Labor Day weekend. I was hanging out with my parents, and my dad casually mentioned, he's like, "Did you know our last name in French means bridge? Pont is French for bridge. Actually,
Nice.
Pontau means bridge too in French." So I just learned like less than a year ago that like I'm all about my last name means bridge too. I'm all about human connection and bringing people together. So it's a little bit of nominative determinism there that I had
Love
no
it.
idea about. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh,
just
that's amazing.
being that bridge and connecting people. And when I'll hear back from people I've connected, and I got actually one where I connect them via LinkedIn, and they sent a reply saying, "Oh my gosh, we just had this like they call it a soul sister moment, and we're having a great like they're going to be working together, doing some collaborations and helping each other's businesses." And I'll when I get hear stuff like that, I'll literally do a happy dance in my chair and tear up because I know that those two people that might not have ever met are now going to do more impactful things together. And it took me 30 seconds to make the introduction,
Yeah.
but it's going to have a much bigger impact on the communities they're in and the people that they're working with than I could have alone or they could have by
Totally.
themselves. And so that's what makes it so meaningful. And it's that the building of trust and the transferring of trust that makes it so powerful because
Yeah.
we need to have those trusted connections to feel safe in that sense of belonging and a lot of people don't have that in their lives and so if I'm able to especially not in their businesses and so helping
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
get those connections and have those opportunities is really meaningful for me.
I love that. Yeah. No, it's true. And I kind of, that kind of reminds me, I mean, what you're talking about there reminds me a lot of one of the main networking groups I go to. And that's what it is. It's, the people are, if I get on a call with, with somebody I've met through that networking group and they start pitching me right away, you alluded to it. You called it exactly what I call it. It's called pitch slapping. Nobody wants to be pitch slapped, man. Don't worry, it's not a bad word, FCC. It's PITCH, pitch slapped, as in pitching a baseball. Don't worry, I didn't say the other word. So yeah, don't pitch slap people, man. Nobody likes that. When you get on a call with somebody, get to know them, get to know who their power partners are, get to know the industries that they want to, that maybe they're not working in, that they want to work in. Like you learn all this by talking to them and asking questions and then shutting up and listening to their answers without thinking about what you're going to say next. Just listen. Just listen. Listening is a lost art, you know?
Yeah, the active listening and then the one of the best ways to show someone you're listening is once they've said something to react to it genuinely and then ask them, they'll tell me more about and then paraphrase what they just said, the last few words they just said. That shows you heard what they actually were talking about
Yep.
because that will get way more insights into who's a good connection for them or who they really are, and it allows you to build your own relationship with them a lot stronger. And yeah, the
Yeah.
that's actually also what makes the kind of informed my approach to the podcast, which is I ask them someone of one can question to kick things off, but then it's very conversational. I just kind of expand on what they just said as they're talking, and it's a very conversational, natural process because and it really people have talked about it afterwards, left me reviews on my LinkedIn about how much they enjoyed the process because they they got to speak and they feel like I was holding space for them and they felt like they were actually being listened to and not just wait. I wasn't just waiting to ask them the next question on my list because I don't have a list. I have one to kick it off and it's just all conversation. But it's such a refreshing change of pace for so many people because so few people are actually listening instead of just waiting
Yeah.
for their turn to speak.
That's 100% true. Yeah, that's well said. That's how I usually say it too. Listening is an active exercise and it is not listening is just not just waiting for the break in the conversation so you can pounce and take your turn, right? In fact, one of the things that I've noticed that helps spark the conversation but also kind of control the conversation is after you get that question from the person, or they're done talking, pause for like 2 seconds, and it's the longest 2 seconds in their life. 2 seconds of silence, 2 or 3 seconds, and then answer their question, or then ask them a follow up, or because that will help you to collect your thoughts and help them to know that you actually thought about it instead of just pouncing. Right. So this is all such good stuff, man. So how does all this relate back to what you've learned from your brain surgeries, man? I mean, because this is where all this is stemming from. This is where we started the show. This is where we're gonna kind of wrap up the show here in the
Yeah.
next 5-10 minutes. But how did that all, that had an impact on you? How did that impact your business life?
Well, I mean, I got very interested in how the brain works after getting the diagnosis because I was wanting to understand it because of how mine was impacted, but also just fascinated by, I love learning. And so there's still so much we don't know about the brain, which is kind of hilarious because it allows us to learn everything and know everything we do know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still know so little about that. And so I learned a lot about human behavior and to human decision making from other like coaches and consultants that I've known through my career, and one of the things that just blew me away when I first learned it is that as much as we like to think of ourselves as thinking beings that feel, we're very much feeling beings that occasionally think, and we actually make all of our decisions using emotions. It's a lower part of our brain that
Yes. Yeah.
control decision making, and when we just justify them later with logic and reason. And so, from a content creation standpoint for businesses, it was really valuable to learn that because you're trying to make marketing content and you're not engaging people emotionally, your content's not going to work as well. Or if you're
Right.
trying to tell a story with no emotional connection involved, then it's just going to be less impactful. And that's one reason why stories are so powerful is because we empathize with characters, and our brains actually can't tell the difference between stories and reality because we have
Yep.
things called mirror neurons in our brains that allow us to empathize. And so, if you care about a character in a story and they're being chased by a monster or whatever, and they're running and their heart's beating and they're sweating, and you care about them, you're going to get the same. You're actually going to heart's going to beat. You're going to sweat. You're going to breathe heavier, but you're in a movie theater eating popcorn, and so when you're trying to build those connections with people, evoking emotions and telling stories are really powerful. And that's what I was doing with my first business. And so when you're trying to connect with people and make introductions, or you're trying to run a business and move people to buy or to support or whatever,
Yeah.
you have to engage them emotionally. And so having your brain not working properly because of two brain tumors, that whole experience got me interested in how the brain works and how humans behave. And so, because I was dealing with a lot of like the after effects of
Sure.
treatment and my own like kind of neurological capacity. I'm actually doing some follow up doctor stuff about
Good.
my kind of mental capacity and different like baseline standard sort of checkups because I did some baseline stuff before I started chemo because they said, yeah, we have a treatment plan for you, but like when you get close to like 20 plus years down the line, you should check in again because there haven't really been any survivors of this that have lived that long before, so don't really have any baseline for here's what to expect when you're 40, 50, 60.
Well, that's
So
kind of cool.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm glad you have the technology now, but now I'm basically one of the first generations of people to have survived this sort of cancer.
Nice.
So I'm going to be going in like a week from today or a couple, maybe like early next month, I think,
Nice.
or maybe, I don't know, it's coming up, it's on my calendar, but it's like to
Beautiful.
do some more tests of like, how's my brain working? How's things going? Because
Well,
I, they don't know what the chemo and radiation is going to do long term.
right.
And so just understanding yourself as who you are as a human being and then what you care about, and also understanding just how your brain works and how your emotions work and how you're and be able to listen and connect with yourself is something that I learned a lot about from that whole brain tumor experience of like what's normal for you and when
Yep.
and how to notice when things aren't normal and like, okay, what does that mean, whether it's physically or emotionally? Like I know
Right.
personally that if my blood sugar drops, I get hangry or like I call it annoyed. There's like
Sure.
hungry annoyed where like if I'm like, why am I so irritable? Oh, because I haven't eaten anything in a few hours and I eat like an apple and be like, okay, I'm no longer like gonna start
Exactly.
breaking things because I'm not my blood sugar is back up. So
Yeah.
just being able to listen to your own body and your own emotions is and
Exactly.
connect with yourself has been super valuable from that experience because if
Hey,
you're not able to connect with yourself, it's harder to connect with other people. And once you're going to know
true.
who you are and what you believe in and what you're trying to accomplish, then and you can communicate with other people like that and then share your story and know what drives you, then it allows you to attract the sort of people in your life that are going to be that support network and those that are going to support you when you need help. And because you'll have that common experience and common values that we need as human beings to survive. It's when you think about that, like what Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's like water, air, food, shelter, and on that same base level is psychological safety and belonging and connection.
Totally.
And you can
Yeah.
see by the kind of state of mental health and society in the world that there's a lack of human connection in the world.
Yeah,
And
there is.
if I could snap my fingers and return the level of human connection and empathy to what it was 20, 25 years ago, but doing so would kill me, I'd still do it because it'd solve so many problems in the world. But since
Right.
this isn't working, the
No.
podcast and my networking and helping people learn about human connection is the next best thing. And so
It's a
that's
beautiful
why I do
thing.
it.
I love that. And it's so important, and I'm so glad that that's what you're doing because there are so few people out there doing that for that purpose, and I love it. And so um and I'm so glad that we were able to do this, man, to get you on the show and to talk about that. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but we're at the end, man. This is it. So I just want to thank you for being here and for what you're doing. I can't wait to see what that networking group is going to look like and how that's going to, transform the world with networking because I love what you're doing with that. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. No kidding, man. That was awesome. All right, tell you what, everybody. I'm gonna take that one down real quick. And I'm gonna. Speaking of networking, I didn't want to bring this up during the show because I know that he's working on a. Oops, wait, that's not right. Is that the right one? That's not the right one. You can't really see the website. Anyway, Network Referral Group is the networking group that I was talking that I kind of alluded to. So if you want to network, and when his gets off the ground, we'll promote that too. We'll get that on the notes and get that out there. So this is the one that I've found really good success with. If you're even a little bit interested in learning more, scan that QR code. And a guy named Mike runs it. He lives in the Baltimore area, and he's incredible. In fact, if you've been watching the show for very long, he's been on the show twice, and he's awesome. So, in fact, the studio sponsor is NRG. So that's how much I love this guy, and that's how much I love what they're doing. So if you are even remotely interested, scan that QR code and let's talk about it. Just tell him invisible. You found out about it on Invisible Condition, and he'll get you squared away. So, man, everybody, thank you so much for being here. This has been amazing. No matter where you're watching from, thank you for being here. Join me for my next episode, which is going to be, God, we're already here. Um, Tuesday, April 14th is going to be the next show. I can't believe we're already halfway through April. Like, yeah, this is insane. We just started 2026. This is crazy, but here we are. So looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday, April 14th, and have an amazing day, and we'll see you next time.